welcome to the Deal Finder Corner. So this is your weekly property talk show brought to you by Property Filter, hosted by myself, Guillaume Black, your favorite Frenchman, CEO and co-founder at Property Filter. It's the UK's highest rated platform to find deals. And we're on a mission to empower our property investor and deal sourcer members to find 1,000 deals in the next 12 months, thanks to the Property Filter blueprint. And the purpose with those Deal Finder Corners is to give you more and the best of the available resources by inviting expert guests who will share with you the latest and most current strategies, tactics, and secrets about what actually works right now in terms of finding and making deals and the reality of systemizing and running a high-performance business in property. So it is my immense pleasure to introduce to you my good friend on today's Deal Finder Corner, Helen Turner. So as a co-founder of Co, which is the ultimate HMO and mixed portfolio property and tenant management software for landlords and specialist agents, she has been talking to all sorts of people across the industry, and she knows a lot about what she's going to share with us today. Helen's really passionate about educating landlords, investors, property managers, letting agents on the importance of systemizing their operations so that you can propel your business growth. And also she co-created the HMO Awards to promote collaboration and progression. And so what can you expect in today's episode? Why most landlords and property managers are exposed to compliance risks? How can you reduce your tenant noise and the threats of inefficiency overwhelm? And then we'll follow that with an exclusive Q&A with Helen. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing about Helen's talk today, listening to her talk. And so please give a massive Property Filter welcome to Mrs. Helen Turner.
Thank you. What a great introduction. I think, so just picking up from your intro there, you talked about values. I think that's a really good place to start. I joined Coho on the basis that our original founder of Coho really has a great passion for building a community of HMO professionals and giving them the tools to be able to provide a great tenant experience. That's what it all comes down to. And I think at the start of your intro also you said that, it's really exciting going into the HMO journey. There's lots and lots of benefits for it. But quite often what's being left out is actually once you've got your property, you've got your physical assets, but then in order to make that into a sustainable business, you have to think about the management side of things. And actually, because, the property source and the property development and then getting tenants in, that's all a process. It's, there's like a beginning and an end to that. But when it comes to management, there is no end. It continues month after month, day after day, until you decide to kind of release that property. So it's a part of the property business that whenever I talk about it, it's an eye-opener because people don't actually necessarily foresee things. So obviously the theme of this is about the nightmares that happened within HMO management, and I'm going to be delving into some of the aspects, which is really all-encompassing, which is exactly the reason why Coho started, because we recognise, you've got your tenant, you've got your property to manage, you've got compliance aspects, and then you've got tenants to bring in. And then you've got communications, the financial aspects of managing the portfolio in terms of rent and the expenses, all of that. And, I think that is something that is underestimated purely because that most people go into property not really necessarily loving, you don't go into property for the love of admin, who loves that. There are individuals that have those strengths. But I find that, the property investors themselves tend to be the more creative side and enjoy the growth, sourcing new properties and finding the next sort of project. But the day-to-day running of the operational side of the business is something that we love less, which means that we need some kind of discipline and a system to help bring all of those elements together so that you have a place to actually do that. So managing HMOs as a portfolio, why is this different? I find that there are a lot of self-managing HMO portfolio owners, and that is because there is a difficulty to find good managers out there. There are, obviously, we are working with lots and lots of managers that are doing really well, specifically in HMOs, but you know, on the high street it's really difficult to find somebody who will take on single lets as well as HMOs, because it's seen as being very specialist. And one of the reasons is because of the regulatory aspects of managing HMOs specifically. There is a lot more kind of detail in the compliance management of things. And we'll talk about that, but that seems to be something that is really, people are open to risks, because if you don't have the right up-to-date compliance documents, and if you're not serving them correctly, if you don't have a correct, you know, audit trail for all of those things, then it can be a complete nightmare. And you know what? Most people don't actually find out about this until when in the hour of need, right? Because you can assume that everything is 100% compliant. It's only when you have to serve a notice to a tenant, or if you're going through a particular dispute, when you actually find out actually how important that compliance element was. And then also the complexity is in the fact that in one property you've got, you know, you've got a minimum of like 4 different tenants that are all having to be managed in terms of communication, all of their wants and needs. And there's also the fact that tenant compatibility is really important in that household. So tenant noise is my second theme for the day. And then the efficiency overwhelm is really, you know, there are a lot of creative people out there, and will create, you know, whatever spreadsheets and use software that can do specific jobs. But the difficulty in not having them all in one place means that you're managing separate information, and the information doesn't communicate, you know, to each other, and that can create its own problems. So you think you're solving one problem, but then actually, you know, you're actually dropping the ball in lots of different areas by not having it all in one place. So when I talked about being exposed to compliant risks, and this is from my own experience talking to so many, we're talking about, you know, I mean, I haven't personally spoken to thousands of landlords, but we do have 1,000 you know, customers using Coho. But it's really from the hundreds of conversations that I have every single day when we're onboarding these clients onto Coho, you know, everybody from the first instance is pretty confident of the status of their compliance documents and how they're being served and their audit trails. But what we find at the end, once they put all the information in there, actually there is usually something that kind of highlights that actually this hasn't been, you know, if it was being tested, that, you know, they would have got into trouble basically. So then, you know, when it comes to tracking, there's obviously a whole load of things that you can do to track. You can use all sorts of softwares to be able to do that. But what's really important is actually having a place where, you know, if it's not just yourself, that it needs to be on the cloud, so that you can delegate things and actually keep an eye on the status of where everything is. But also when it comes to prescribing, serving your prescribed information, that, you know, that can get quite messy as well. And I find that people are looking back in streams of communication with the tenants, you know, because it might have happened, you know, ages ago. If you've got a tenancy that lasts 12 months or more, then at the beginning of the tenancy, you believe that you've sent something, but then going back to your emails and finding them can be a bit of an issue, can cause some problems there. But then also there's during mid-tenancy as well, you know, are you, if you're updating something during their tenancy, for example, a gas safety certificate, are you actually sending them the up-to-date documentation across the tenant and keeping a record of that? So I think that, you know, if we delved into it, a lot of people are at risk of, you know, failing on that stress test when it comes to being disputed on their compliance. But again, it's just because it's simply so difficult to do, and with the number of tenants that you're potentially dealing with, it's just really, really hard to track. So then the other thing that can be quite a nightmare is managing the tenant noise, because you've got multiple voices. People do tend to use WhatsApp a lot in property, and creating those groups within WhatsApp is very, very helpful. But then, of course, there can be uninvited, you know, conversations that go on that then, you know, fills your WhatsApp messages with things that you don't necessarily need to know about, and then also encourages the expectation of wanting, you know, real-time feedback on certain things that they've requested. So that's something that a lot of managers find a bit of a nightmare to manage. And then, of course, you know, the audit trail and being able to find the communication specific to what you're trying to look for very quickly is quite difficult traditionally. And then, you know, at the end, you know, we talked about tenant experience, and it's all about keeping the tenants updated to whatever it is that they're inquiring about, so that they know that the status of something is being in progress and it's being moved on, because I think there's a lot of expectation from a tenant whenever they make a request of something. They want to know that it's been sorted straight away, and if you're not keeping them up to date, then obviously the fear is that, you know, you've forgotten them. So that's just something to be mindful of. But of course, there's a whole load of other nightmares in managing HMOs. So for the sake of obviously keeping to time, I'm just going to concentrate on these few areas. But yeah, within HMOs, definitely with every property, you're with every new property that you're adding to your portfolio, the noise is multiplied. So it's just so different to a single let. And then also, on the very nature of HMOs, the length of stay tends to be a lot shorter than in a single let. You may have, you know, a family let that kind of the tenants will stay for a couple of years or up to, you know, number of years, whereas with in HMOs, you know, the average tenancy stay is going to be between sort of 9 and, you know, it could be as good as like 14, 15 months. But anyway, it's the rate that you're actually changing and having to deal with a lot of the operational side of things over time, over the lifespan of that property. So these are sort of questions where when I talk to new customers, there's a lot of people who think, well, you know, I'm not very techie. So where do I start? What do I kind of start looking for? And I think that a good place is probably to, you know, wherever it is, I think within social media, there's a lot of people that ask about property management software, and, you know, look at what people are recommending, but don't just take that on the surface. Obviously, think about your own situation, not just now, but think about sustainability. Think about, you know, as you grow, is this system still going to be good for me? And also, you know, ask people why they like a particular software if they're recommending something. You know, sometimes people recommend things that they don't even use. But it is very, very helpful to kind of ask out there in the community. And then when do I start? I always say that, you know, start as many as you mean to go on, because it's important to kind of think. I always look at like a business with an exit plan. I always think, well, where do I want to be? How big do I want this to get to? And then you can start anticipating, obviously, the work that it's going to take to get there. So have a bit of a plan. So if you were starting with your very first property, which is absolutely possible with Coho, that then stops you from having to make up your own processes, and as you grow your team, and resources, you've already got, you know, something that is scalable with you, because, you know, as your activities grow, you want to make sure that you can have a system in place that's already designed and thought through, that's been built with the community, not just, you know, a load of tech people kind of going off and saying this is how you should do it, but take advantage of that, basically, to have some kind of a system to start off with and help you along your journey to make sure that you're becoming as efficient as possible. And the objective of all of this is obviously about being smart with your time, also being able to measure performance, because how do you know that you're doing well and that you're being efficient and that people are actually getting their things done, you know, with it, whether it's you or your team. So having a system that will actually help you with some KPIs will help you then carve out time for yourself, because at the end of the day, you know, if you're in property, it's very rare, especially if you're on this call, you know, and you're interested in looking at systems and operationals, the operational side of a business, then, you know, the hint to me is that you're probably looking at this quite seriously. You want to build out a business, you want to keep adding to your property portfolio, and the more, when you find, you know, doing the actual operational tasks, it can become an everyday thing, and it can just take up so much of your brain space trying to kind of find things and think, what am I doing today, you know. So if you can get organized in that aspect and also have something that can be delegated to a wider team, then, you know, you're valuing your time. And also, I think a really big objective with which people don't talk about is that a well-run management side of your business totally adds value to your business, your property portfolio. So, you know, it's not just thinking about the bricks and mortar and it receiving rent. It's how you can really optimize the opportunity for getting better rents, getting rents paid on time, getting better tenants that will look after your home. And then, you know, when that is a little bit more plain sailing, you're carving out more time to look for that next project and not drown in the you know, practicalities of running the operational side of the business and getting overwhelmed by it, because I see a lot of people sinking, especially, you know, certain parts of the month it gets really busy. So I'm just going to exit this now, and I'm going to move on to the Coho, so that I can give you a quick kind of whiz around to show you, obviously, how we can help you combat some of those nightmares, management nightmares. So when you land onto Coho, you can see it's nice and clean. It's been designed. It's quite pretty to look at. We wanted to build something that was nice to work with, basically, not just, you know, a lot of people, if it's a consumer product, you want to be able to make sure that it's attractive, it's easy to use, and so forth. There's a lot of software that's out there that was probably perhaps built, you know, not in this day and age, built, you know, 10, 15 years ago, and they're not necessarily the prettiest and easiest to navigate, you know, systems. And we just thought, well, why should a property manager experience something that's anything less than what you would actually produce for a tenant? But anyhow, the way that Coho works, when you landed, by the way, you can actually get access to this from the Coho website. If you click onto the button to say instant demo, you can get direct access into this and you can play around with it yourself. But so what we've done, and you can see all the different elements of things that, you know, we've pulled into one system, and we have everything stacked up again on top of quick navigation. We just use these quick buttons. Inside the demo, just so that you know, a quick tip, you can actually log in as if you were a tenant, so you can actually view the experience from a tenant's view. There's an owner view as well, so you can actually move around and actually experience it. So as a manager, when you land, you've got the portfolio view. I've got a small portfolio of 3 HMOs here. It's really easy to kind of find a property, that if you were looking for something here, and then, you know, if you had a slightly larger portfolio, you might be looking for a particular tenant, you know, you can search by telephone number and postcode as well, which is great. So inside the portfolio, I'm just going to kind of like show you quickly just an understanding of the navigation. So we've got inside a particular property now, some of the elements you will see in the quick access buttons change, because all of a sudden you're managing information that's inside of the property. And then inside the property, you've obviously got a number of tenants. And just to let you know that Coho is also a listing website. We are very early stages in terms of what it is, because we've been working really hard at building out the property management platform, so that we can get the stock in, and then when we advertise to tenants, then tenants more likely to kind of find the right room for them in that area. So that's what we're working on, and we are hoping to launch this officially as a listing website in the next sort of 9 to 12 months. So that was really just to kind of show you. And when we talk about tenant compatibility as well, that's something that we do promote. We ask the tenant to fill in a profile, so that it gives us a bit of a hint of what their interest is, these little icons. And you know, perhaps when they're actually looking on the listing of an available room, they can actually see, like, you know, other tenants may have things about them that are interesting to them, and hopefully, you know, that will help them kind of choose your room, your property over another. So anyway, going back to the main profile view, when I was talking about managing compliance nightmares, now, one of the things that we do have in Coho is the ability to store your compliance data, and then you can see them in a list here to have a quick view of what is actually still valid, when they expire next, and then more importantly, what is expired at the moment. Now, yeah, this is really useful if you've got a big long list and it's a quick one-way view, but to help you make sure that you are actioning things when you should be, we have an actions panel that basically, this is like your list of things to do on a daily basis, and they are systems generated. So for example, if you've got here, we've got a gas safety certificate that needs to be renewed. When you're setting up the property, you can actually define how soon before something is up for renewal that you need to bring it into the actions panel to remind you. Now, a lot of people kind of probably use, you know, a mixture of, like, it might be a Google shared drive or even just on your laptop. I know people who would do that, just store compliance documents in their laptop, and then you've got a calendar reminder to say that this is actually due. But the problem with calendar reminders and Google shared drives, you know, they're not built to, you know, for the specific needs of managing a property. So therefore, you know, for example, in a Google Calendar event, you may see that it's coming up, but then you can't, it will go away once the day's gone. You're not looking at that day anymore unless you keep remembering to, like, move it, you know, move it forwards. Within Coho, the actions don't go away until the task's actually done. So for example, within you know, a safety certificate, until you've actually dropped in a new one and you've got you know, new validation dates, the task doesn't go away. So it's a safety measure for you. But also, when it comes to serving the compliance documents, you've got your HMO license, your gas safety certificates, EICR, EPC, and your how to rent guide. Those are the kind of the main 5 things that need to be served as prescribed information at the start of a tenancy. Within Coho, I'm not going to go into detail with another feature, but we do have an onboarding process, which is step by step from the point that you want to take a holding fee, and at the point that before you produce your ASTs for them to sign, we do automatically, because we store the information, we know it's up to date, we automatically send those 5 documents across to the tenant to acknowledge. So we not only have a log, an audit trail of what's being served to the tenants, we also take it to that next step to ask them to acknowledge those documents. And at that point, if it's done because they can't progress to the next stage and they are keen, obviously, to finish the whole application process for getting into the room, they can't actually go ahead and sign an AST until they've done this step. And another thing is about, during mid-tenancy, obviously, when you do renew your compliance certificates, we also serve that across. And the way that we do that, we are able to do that because we invite the tenant in to collaborate. And the tenant does need to create an account by, basically, we've already given them the email to set up, and they just have to create a login for that. And then they have their own dashboard and they can see everything that they need to do. And if it's onboarding as a process, there is a workflow for them to contribute. And getting them to collaborate online, it's so much easier than, having to send them off to, one application form and then to do the referencing somewhere else, and then bringing them in to another software to sign the AST with DocuSign or Signable or whatever it might be that you use. But everything is then pulled into Cohope. So for compliance, we've got you covered there. And then, so my next point really was, let me just make sure that I haven't actually missed anything. Yeah, okay, so the actions, really useful, just so that you know. There is a calendar view. We have our own calendar, so this isn't connected to your own calendar, but this is a calendar view of all the actions that come up. And those property related actions, sorry, let me just show you down here. So, in the actions, we actually divide them up for you. So you've got property related actions, tenancy related actions, any maintenance stuff as well, and onboarding, which I spoke about, viewings, and then other, you can customize your own actions as well. Within actions, you can assign them to a team member to take accountability for that particular action. And then they reflect directly within the calendar view. Here I've got something in with a month view, but you can basically manage anything from here. Just click into it and you can manage it forward from there. So that was really just to kind of show you the steps that we've taken to ensure that compliance is definitely covered for you. So then the next thing that on my slide that I said I wanted to talk about was about tenant noise. We've built our own messaging center, which replaces WhatsApp. And again, WhatsApp wasn't built for managing properties. It's almost there, but it hadn't thought about the intricacies of like all the different types of communication process that you might have to go through throughout a tenancy's lifespan. So here, just to kind of give you a hint of, we separate the messages. You can filter them by different types of messages. So, as I mentioned, you've got viewing messages, you've got maintenance communications, and you've got onboarding communications on the left-hand side. You can also, so if I was just a filter, I've only got one to show you, but you would have a list of those maintenance issues that you wanted to manage, and it gives you a quick window of, some basic details about what that issue is about. We do have a whole maintenance workflow for you, which is great because you can, pull in communication with the supplier to get them involved in the whole process, through to giving them the details, through to managing the job all the way through and getting estimates and quotes and things from the supplier. The supplier can totally be given the permission by you, because you don't necessarily want to do this, but you can give them the permission to interact with the households, but then if they do, it's inside Coho, it's audited, you can see exactly what communications are actually being sent. And it may just be for, you know, general updates, or, you know, to arrange access to the building, for example. You can manage all of that inside Coho maintenance. But on this, it's about communicating to the tenants. Now, creating a message is really straightforward. I'm just going to see if I've got another example. So you can see, obviously, who's sent the message. You can see that a message has been sent across. You can attach pictures and files and so forth, just to you know, provide any evidence for anything that you need. If you were to manage multiple properties, one of the things that gets really annoying, this is one of the nightmares, isn't it? It's all those different voices. Now, sometimes you just want to tell them something, and we call it a broadcast. If you wanted to broadcast a message across to all of your households and tenants within those households, you can do that all in one go. So, you know, rather than sort of going into every single group in a WhatsApp group, then, you know, you can do it all across the board. And you can also control whether or not you want to allow replies in a broadcast. So that can then stop any responses back if you didn't want them to. But then obviously, if you wanted to just message one household, you can message all the tenants, or you can message individual tenants, and that's how it works. You can attach obviously files in there if you want to, but yeah, that's how it works. It works exactly how you expect it should work. But we give you a little bit more extra details in, you know, for example, for viewings and things like that, so you can actually see the whole process all the way through. I think, yeah, it's probably useful to kind of show you if we've got a maintenance one in progress. Obviously, we've got one that has been created here. But again, you know, you've got an audit trail. So this is the process, the workflow, and then you've got the audit trail of what communication is happening all the way through. Then I think that just having the ability to have everything in one place, all tied up in together, and you can see inside each of the rooms and what's happening with the tenancies. And you can see exactly, you know, it's a quick way to find out exactly where things are. Lots of bits of information that you can have a place there as well. And one of the things that I can see, yeah, the welcome pack, I want to kind of show you very quickly that there's a lot of people that actually print out loads. I've seen at settling in days, move-in day, you know, big packs of paperwork being, you know, passed to the tenant, lots of things on the notice board. This is something that a tenant can have in the palm of their hands. In the welcome pack, you can put all sorts of information in there. You can create your own label, put the information in there. You can add information cards, so any kind of instructions, or, you know, whether it's bin dates, you can build this at property level, at portfolio level, or at room level, and you know, the tenant will actually have that completely to hand on their mobile phone if they want to use it. Coho is web-based. There's also an app which is the same as the website, to be honest, but yeah, they can have access to this to hand. And that's the welcome pack, and managing the communications. I think there's a lot of automation inside Coho as well. So you know, we already talked about automatically serving compliance things, but there's the rent collection schedule that is communicated on the dashboard. Again, we do also have an automated ability to send out notifications to tenants for those that are late paying as well. So I think by bringing everything into one place, it means that we know exactly where things are. People are working on the data all the time. And then it means that we're allowing, yes, this tenant hasn't paid rent. So then you can create templates and have them, automatically served those templated messages according to whatever time it might be at 1 day late. There's a credit control process where this message gets sent out day 5. This is what gets sent out day 7. So there's a lot of things where you can actually preset templates as well, so that it's saving you time, it's saving you headspace. You're not having to find all of these things, and that will make your life a whole lot easier. So I'm just going to jump out of the demo. I think that was a quick overview. If anybody wants to book in a demo with myself or anybody in the team, do let me know. The only thing I just, I'm sure there'll be questions later on, but I just wanted to point out that one of the things that I do have a lot of passion for is creating that community for the HMO sector, and gathering a lot of all of the kind of great people who are doing the most progressive things into an event, because basically we were trying to look for an event where we could meet lots of people who have HMOs, and we couldn't find one. But also we were a bit sick and tired of going to, black tie events and, gala dinners where we were sat next to people that we, nice enough, but not necessarily the people that we wanted to meet. So we decided to create our own. And this event, the inaugural event, happened last year in September. We are having the next one on Friday, the 29th of May next year. And I just wanted to raise awareness of this. If you wanted to have a look at the website, there is hmoawards.com, where you can have a look at the pictures and get a feel of what it was like. The whole agenda is, amazing. Property Filter, Guillaume is getting involved with supporting the event as well. So I'm sure you'll hear a lot more. I'm about to kick off marketing this month, so you can look out for the information there. But yeah, I hope if you have anything to do with HMOs, then it's definitely an event that you don't want to miss. And then very last but not least, obviously, here's the coho.life instant demo access again. And then if you wanted to get in touch with me, my social media handle is Helen Turner Coho.
Thanks so much, Helen. Thank you so much for this. Would we agree that this is an incredible system? Just some got a couple of questions myself, and some comments and some lesson learned. You really have to make property passive. There is this felony that property is passive and passive income and all that, but it's passive until you get your first one, and then it gets messier and messier, as you get more and more of these properties. And I wish you, to have the 50 HMO units, etc., but and more and growing your portfolio. But believe me, it doesn't get passive here, like it's quite messy. So you really have to make it passive and leverage the power of SaaS, like leverage the power of those software as a service. There are companies like Coho or ourselves. We spend literally hundreds of thousands in developing this, and we make it accessible for you guys in a few quid. So Helen, with Coho, so let's say I'm starting out, I've got my first HMO, a 6-bed HMO. Really, how can I justify, I've got one HMO of 6 tenants. I'm happy with my spreadsheets. I don't really understand quite yet that this is going to get noisy. And how can I justify, the cost of a software like this? So is it going to cost me lots of money every month, to get access to something like this that makes me start to and build good processes in a good way?
Yeah, this is it. This is one of the objections that I have, like, quite a lot with smaller portfolios, because it doesn't feel messy yet, and it's good that you want, rather than sort of, allowing a expert property manager to go and handle that for you. A lot of people choose to actually do at least their first, to learn what it's like and then make their decision whether or not they want to outsource later on. That's absolutely fine. Now, the good thing about Coho as a software is that at the moment it is pay as you grow, and I don't know if that's going to change. We are talking about it internally, how we're going to I suppose evolve our pricing strategy. However, today it is pay as you grow, which means that one unit, which means a room inside a HMO or a single let is one unit, you can start on Coho today. And one unit will cost you on a monthly subscription for the core package, which is basically everything that you would need to be able to do for £1.50 plus VAT a month. Yeah, I mean, justifying at this point, I don't think it's about price. I think it's about having the foresight, getting a bit of you don't get that time to stop and think, do you? But I do encourage everybody, just always have a little bit of time to think about your business and what's your journey like in the next 12 months. If you're going to be so busy wanting to grow your portfolio, get the systems in place. And it's, people will, if by the time that you've done a spreadsheet, you can actually get your stuff onto Coho very quickly. And then it gives you all of the elements to move forward.
Thank you, Helen. So just to make it clear, so if I've got a 6-bed HMO, the cost is £9 a month. Is that right? And then
if I've got £1.50, yeah, a month. Yeah, exactly that.
And then if I get another single let on top of that, I got an HMO, a 6-bed HMO and one single let. It's like £10.5 a month.
Yeah, 7 units. Yeah.
So sorry, go on. Yeah.
We built Coho for the mass of the market, right? And the mass of the market is going to be self-managing landlords with smaller portfolios. It was never supposed to be too expensive for anybody. The whole point when we first started was we really want to help raise the standards within the HMO community so that they could have the tools to actually provide a great experience. Like our founder, Van, stayed in a HMO with a landlord that had 13 HMOs, and he was baffled by how well he could actually manage it. At the end of the day, you've got superhuman powers who are great with Excel spreadsheets and doing this with a passion. But then you've got most people that are not necessarily equipped to be able to design their own systems themselves. So we've done that for you, and that is really helping. And then we have attracted obviously larger portfolio managers. That this goes to say that the tools haven't been readily available before Coho, so it is in demand. It has been a problem to be able to do this professional standard. So we are talking to and have customers that have up to 700 units right now. We're talking to customers that have, we're seeing somebody tomorrow that has 4,500 units. That's another world. But we've built Coho first and foremost for self-managing landlords. So therefore the simplicity of how to use it is really important to us. But then we've added the power. So this is when I'm talking about the sustainability and thinking about the future of where you're going with your portfolio. We've built in the extra power that can cope with demands of those large portfolio managers as well.
Thanks so much, Helen. I'll do a quick interlude just to talk about next week's Deal Finder Corner. So we've got, most property entrepreneurs, property investors build businesses that don't really make money. They get in a bit of a mess with, like the bookkeeping and all that. So it's why I'm getting Josh Keegan to come next week. He's going to talk about the way you can set up all your accounting and all that. So in a way that you are very efficient and you drive your business by the dashboard. And again, another way of systemizing your business. So if you like today, and if you liked the guests we usually invite, I just popped a link in the chat so you can book your time for next week already. And whilst you do that, I'll move up to the first questions. So Helen, you said about this nice design, friendly design, but recently you launched Trevor, was it? The very was it a joke?
Do I have to talk about
a joke
this?
From that? Yeah.
Well, I think so. Yeah, when he first told me about it, I was like, I don't get it. Yeah, he has a sense of humor, and there's a lot of people that really relate to it. But I'm a very practical person, so sarcasm isn't in my culture.
Yeah, so if you don't
Yeah.
know, so Helen and Van, the other co-founder, they're quite fun people to stay around, and they're quite funny. So do follow them on social media. So yeah, it's just a bit of an anecdote, and maybe you guys are not aware, but Van sort of made a fake launch of Trevor, the boring property management software, this week, which I thought was quite funny. So they are good people to follow and connect with. So Terence is asking, are you able to integrate the calendar with your own calendar?
Currently, no. At the moment, no. And it is something that we've got in the pipeline to be able to do. It would be a redesign of, because obviously plugging in your calendar, then what happens? How do we, because it's associated with the actions that a system's generated. So it may be like another calendar option,
Yeah.
but then by linking in your own calendar is not going to create actions. So this is the reason why we've delayed it for now.
Yeah, sorry, Helen, you've got a bit of a spoiled child audience here, because
Sure.
they get the calendar integration with Property Filter, so they expect it everywhere now.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, we always get a lot of you see, we built Coho along with users and people in the community,
Yeah.
right? So we do get, and the thing about this is why it's so important. There is no one way, there is no training session to say this is the best way to manage your properties, right? Nobody actually taught you how to do it. You find your own way, which has resulted a lot of different ways that people will do things. So we've listened to all of that, and what we would do is put on our kind of more tech cap on, and kind of try to again filter out some of that noise, and then think, right, okay, well, this person wants that person, and we find out why. What is it that you're trying to achieve with that? And with the calendar, great, but and there are a lot of activities that you might want to track on your own personal calendar. However, when it comes to the property management, nothing in that calendar shouldn't be doable inside Coho, if you know what I mean. So there might be a little bit of separation of like, this is property management, but this is something else. If you're expecting an Amazon delivery of something, that's not necessarily property management, for example.
Paul is asking, can you download a local copy of all the data stored in your Coho account? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I obviously skipped through it, but in most of the panels now, particularly occupancy, for example, for that what's available, what needs to be renewed, what tenancies are coming on to or gone on to periodic, for example, you can download that data. You can download all of your rent data, and then all your actions as well, and compliance data as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Bimbe is asking, can you go through GDPR compliance, as there is a fair amount of sensitive data on different people, including tenants? We'll have access, and click to tenant, we'll have access to it. What safeguards are in place, and what advice would you give to users of the Coho platform?
So in terms of GDPR, it is an opt-in only. They don't have to fill in their profile information. So any information that is displayed is explicitly been added, having given the permission to Coho to have on there. And there's never any real sensitive information either. Like date of birth and things like that. There's no sensitive information.
Mark is asking, can Coho show a dashboard of rent payment status across the whole portfolio? Can Coho link to the bank account to automate rent receipt documentation? Good questions.
Yeah, and 100% really good question. I'd love to be able to show you in more detail. Now we have a system that generates rent. So we know obviously a tenancy starts this day and it ends that day. In between, every month or however regularly, it might be weekly. Some people collect rents weekly. There's social housing tenants that we deal with as well, and then monthly, whichever day of the month. So we set a schedule and we generate that next few months. We know when we're expecting rents, and then and then the reconciliation process will allow you to mark them as paid. They may be overdue, they may be part paid. There's all sorts of scenarios, isn't there? You can mark them and you can identify them really easily. And the whole point of that is so that you can, if you're expecting any rent arrears, credit control is, you know, the next step, isn't it? So reconciliation, just to finish that off, yes, we do allow you to connect to your bank account. Just to let you know, that part of the software, if you want the open banking connection, it's an extra £1 per unit onto your £1.50 per month. And that then allows, because we've also built a super amazing AI piece of technology that allows you to essentially auto reconcile your rents against the rents due. So your transactions come in, we go, yep, this is that rent, we just like sort that out for you and just mark it as paid. Obviously, in reality, that doesn't always happen. If you've got a large portfolio, you're more than likely to have the odd tenant that doesn't pay with the tenant reference that you ask them to, and you know, there isn't a perfect match, but by, you know, looking at the amount, the date and the tenant name and part of the reference, we can pretty much say, right, we don't know it's definitely this one, so we won't do it automatically for you, but then, you know, here's the suggested one that we think it is, and you can just click OK. If you click OK, then it will set a rule to recognize it for next month. And then there's, you know, weird and wonderful things that happen, people paying too much, too little, weird timings, and that just comes up on a list for you to be able to, you know, click, yep, this is this property, this tenant, and so forth, and manage that forward. So we do have that, along with a full automated credit control escalation process, which is what I kind of tried to describe earlier. And that is, when we know that something is overdue, you can preset those messages being sent out and in notification text and email to the tenant to kind of say, yep, your rent was due yesterday, it's late today, or oh, come on mate, it's been 3 days, or whatever it is that you want to say. You can automate that as well.
Awesome. Greg's asking, does co-link with accountancy software like Xero? And also another question, I saw a tab for referencing. Can co-handle referencing, or is it just a place to store documents?
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so Xero, I'll tackle that one first. We are building out a full integration with Xero to have information out and information in as well. Today, what we do have is the rent side can be, so you're building your rent schedule inside Coho. We know what's expected at any moment, any one day. And we allow you to download that and attach it's something accountancy language, you know, chart of accounts. You can actually attach code to say that Xero, hey, you know, do recognize this as rent. And you can download that and upload that across to Xero so that you can reconcile. Depending on how, you know, I mean, I'm not going to talk about like client accounts and things like that, but it all works, you know, slightly differently. But there is a part solution today. And we are working to a more integrated solution where we will also work on expenses as well, so that we can communicate two ways. Now, the reason why we've done it our way is that we wanted to sort out Coho as the source of truth. For now, what I'm finding is with a lot of other platforms that may have a Xero integration is that the communication isn't necessarily, first and foremost, isn't always accurate, because you've got two different people putting different amounts in, and there's human error there, and then you're having to check. Whereas if everyone's working on Coho, then there is a source of truth, and you can rely on that information being created across onto Xero for you to reconcile.
Yeah, the cool thing is you guys are, you know, on a trajectory where you're always adding to it, you are building it out, and you're taking customer feedback. Yeah. So again, yeah, some alignment in value and then, with ourselves. Yeah, so I'm quite confident this will be something you'll get done quickly, like reasonably.
Yeah, exactly that. And then there was the referencing question. So when I kind of quickly explained that we have a onboarding process, it's a 6-step process which begins with holding fee instructions, creation of an application form which can be templated. It's very flexible, And then you've got the referencing step. You can choose, it's very flexible. You can choose to go with our integrated referencing platform, which is Advanced Rent. It's very, very comprehensive and has a good reputation. That there is a cost to that. It's £16.60 plus VAT for a single reference. Now, because it's pulling the information from your application form, it's feeding that across to the referencing company. And then when it's done, you get alerted on Coho side to say that it's here. Here's the policy, the certificate to say that it's passed or whatever it is, and giving you all the details, the credit checking and so forth. That has a place inside Coho, so you can actually save it, and then you can progress to the next step, which is obviously creating the rent schedule, the compliance elements, as well as the AST creation and allowing them the ability to actually sign the AST. But if you don't want to use that, you can also skip through and, you know, move along and do what you need to do.
Okay, Matt's got an awesome question. So does the software replace what the agents might charge for 10% of the rent plus VAT per month? Have you got
I mean, obviously you can charge yourself. That's what people do, right? So a lot of landlords start off doing it themselves and think, right, I can't find somebody else who can do it as well as me. But while I'm doing it, I've hired a VA plus a property manager. Then, you know, how do I make use of that resource? And they actually just start something themselves. So, you know, when it's small, it probably won't make any difference. But if you've got the resources and you can actually create a business out of it, because quite often landlords are stuck. They don't necessarily always want to do it themselves, right? But if they find that you do it and you can do it, you know, well for them, there's another revenue stream there. So
awesome. Sam is asking a few questions. So question one, Helen, can the liaison with tenants for signing the be used for signing application like ASTs or my deposits?
So deposits is another aspect. So signing the AST, absolutely. Coho built our own e-signature facility so that, you know, it works on mobile, it works, you know, out on the road. The manager can use it on mobile as well on the road. That's great, and that's the start of the technology for us to be able to allow you to sign other documents. And I know that's really useful. I've had a few people ask for it, and that is definitely on the roadmap to shortly allow you to sign all sorts of agreements, documents, and things like that to open up. We didn't want to replace, you know, or go up against, you know, DocuSign as a whole, but it looks like that we want to open that up a little bit because it will be useful.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, and then I'm not sure. I'll have to reread question 2 a few times. Can you produce a standard letters, or it is text to chase for rent with good frequency? Can it make automatic calls? Can it send messages, emails to tenants, or a combination? So basically, can you describe the automation and the workflows you've got with emails and communication?
Yes, we do actually have a custom messages ability that is just about to launch. Actually, I've seen it built, I've seen it demoed internally, and it does mean that you can create your own messaging template. So, you know, I went to visit an agency recently, and the property manager, she said to me, she says, look, I've got 100 different email templates. Can we actually save that in Coho? Yes, you can build your own now. And you can, and also what's great about it is that you might have a category of a type of messaging. So it might be like, you know, the move out, for example. You know, what do you need to send out to say, oh yeah, I'm going to start the move out process, and then you know, this is the email. But you can have some categories that actually, you know, come along with that as well. So yeah, it's really good.
Okay, awesome. And then one last question: do I get SMS or email alerts for pending actions?
So for the manager side, I'm assuming you definitely get email alerts. And you can, and you can manage how you want those emails to be sent to you, the actions that are, you know, they can be grouped together, because if you've got a lot, then it can be annoying, but if it's a small portfolio, it's not so bad. So you can manage how you want those emails to come through. But also, I think most importantly is actually having the notifications on your phone. And they come up on your phone.
Okay, cool. So we are running out of time. So Helen, do you have a last closing sentiment for us today? We want to thank you as well.
I think, yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you everybody for joining me today. It's been really nice to be able to show you, you know, give you a taste of what Coho might look like. I think my last leaving notes is, obviously, yeah, I keep repeating, starters mean to go on, because then it makes your life easy. It just frees you up. The cost is never an issue. It's never a cost issue. It's more about investing brain space now, so that you can, because that problem of needing to systemize, when by the time you realize that you need it, it's just so much harder at that point. So get organized, think ahead, and you know, if you want to get in touch with me, DM me, message me, you know, and this is one of the things that we love about Coho, because we're people, and you know, you can contact us.
Okay, thanks so much, Helen. So thank you everybody for joining us today on Deal Finder Corner. I really want to thank Helen for sharing all things HMO management, and also how you can solve these problems with a very simple and affordable platform. So yeah, jump on it. I get no commission for it. I just believe it's a really cool system. In the meantime, visit propertyfilter.co.uk, log on to your Property Filter account, check out the deal blueprint where you define your gold mine area, engage with motivated sellers, assess property leads in seconds, load your pipeline, and actually start doing deals. Have an endless supply of deals, join the top 1% and become a high achiever deal finder. I hope you enjoyed today's Deal Finder Corner. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much. Thank you, Helen, and thank you, everybody. Have a great day.